there was nothing but this swirling fog. And I thought, what the heck? And then it started getting warm and I smelled bad. And I thought, what? And now there's screaming in the background. There's moaning. And I thought, oh, shoot, this can't be good. And then all of a sudden, out of this fog came this horrible voice that said, do you know where you are? And I thought, and I thought, and I thought, I hope I'm wrong. I said, hell. And then this voice just boomed back this maniacal laugh.
I'm here today with Kathy McDaniel. Kathy is the author of a memoir, Misfit in Hell to Heaven, EXPAT. While dying from lung failure in 1999, she was placed on a ventilator and put into a drug-induced coma. A distressing near-death experience occurred, and although mostly traumatic, she also experienced the overwhelming bliss of heaven, which shifted her religious beliefs to a deep spirituality. Kathy, thank you so much for being my guest today. I'm really honored to have you.
Well, thank you, Tia. I'm very happy to be here.
We discussed a little bit earlier about it's not so much about the actual experience itself, but the way your life changed and the messages that you received. So let's start talking about your experience, and then we'll go on to talk about all the things that you learned from that experience that you are sharing with the world.
It began back in 1999, 25 years ago. I was asked to be a caregiver for my best friend, and in Seattle, Washington. I was living in California at the time. We were both about 53 years old and had known each other for years. At one time, we'd been engaged. So I said, sure, I'd come help. And it was supposed to be for, 3 or 4 months. I found us an apartment, and there was another caregiver too. We went to our instructions of how to take care of him once he had this bone marrow transplant. So that went longer than expected. It was about 8 or 9 months that he was in and out of the hospital. We lived a block away. We're always running back and forth day and night. And understandably, when he died, I was not prepared for that. And I was heartbroken and tired and exhausted. So I was in the process of moving back to California when I was asked to go to it was a chorale production around Christmas time, and I was so exhausted, but I said, no, maybe that'll be fun. Well, the problem was they had this horrible flu going around down there, very akin to COVID, and I caught it, of course. So by the time I got back to Seattle's area, I was sick, and I didn't know quite what to do. I called a friend that had taken me to the concert in the middle of the night. I was coughing up blood. I couldn't get down the 3 flights of stairs to get to my car. I would have gone to a dock in the box. Anyway, he got me there. And just as he got into the driveway, I just felt I don't know, my life force, my energy, something just kind of like it was watching a thermometer temperature go down. I felt it going down and I just thought I was yelling, but I was whispering, I'm dying, I'm dying. And he slammed on the brakes and went around, and I tried to get out of the car. And that's all I remember. I blacked out. So he picked me up and carried me in, yelling for help, and they said at the time there was no pulse, and so they called an ambulance. They got me to this emergency room, and I woke up a couple days later with my family there from California and Colorado, and I'm very confused. So I asked what was going on, and they had this tube down my throat, and I was, I just didn't couldn't understand what it was, but they said you're not in good shape, and they've called your family, and you've got about 38% chance of making it because we don't know how to treat this. It's well, it's lung failure. It was called ARDS. It's kind of like SARS, and that's what people of COVID die from is the lung failure. They said we're going to have to put you in a drug-induced coma and throw the book at you. We're just going to experiment. Hopefully, we can save you, but we're not hopeful. And once you're in this coma, we're going to give you something called white amnesia. And take your brain offline and you'll remember nothing that happens. Okay. So, because we're going to be doing some weird stuff. And what am I going to say? I said, okay. I said goodbye to my family. I remember that one of the last things I saw was the ball coming down on New Year's Eve. So it was 1999, December 31st. And I was gone. But then I woke up, but I wasn't in a hospital and I had no idea where I was because now I know I was in the void, but I'd never heard of that before. It was completely dark. I mean, dark, no noise, no sound, no feeling of wind, nothing. It was just weird. And I didn't feel upset or anything. I just, when you're a kid, we used to play hide and seek and you go hide in the closet, and don't breathe because your sister would find you. And then I thought, well, maybe somebody's playing a trick on me. I don't want to move. I don't know if I'm sitting or whatever. And so I just hung out. And after a short while, I noticed that it was seeming to get a little bit lighter, but there was a reddish glow. And I thought, sun's coming up. Great. So I'll find out where the heck I am. And as it got lighter, there was nothing but this swirling fog. And I thought, what the heck? And then it started getting warm and I smelled bad. And I thought, what? And now there's screaming in the background. There's moaning. And I thought, oh, shoot, this can't be good. And then all of a sudden, out of this fog came this horrible voice that said, do you know where you are? And I thought, and I thought, and I thought, I hope I'm wrong. I said, hell. And then this voice just boomed back, this maniacal laugh scared me. And I turned and I thought, I got to get out of here and ran into the darkness. I thought, just go the opposite direction of that voice, Kath, because this is not good. So I ran and ran and I finally stopped and the lights came up and I thought, now what, and it was a strange scene. It was like a bombed out city is all I can tell you. The windows were blown out of these skyscrapers. There was concrete chunks everywhere. It was people were screaming and running, and there was fires. And I thought, holy cow, now what? And so I just ducked back down into between two big cement pieces to kind of figure out where I was and what was going on. Weird things happened. A group of kind of creepy people came out of the fog and kind of stared at me. And I thought, oh goodness, what's this about? And then there was like, I don't know, like this great big shadow and this creaking mechanical thing went by. And I thought, maybe it's aliens. I don't know, something terrible is happening here. And I thought, well, if I could just find somebody else, maybe they can fill me in. So I thought I'd run and kind of get over this concrete thing so I could get to the buildings. Maybe there would be people there. But as I climbed up, it was slippery and I fell backwards and I thought, oh crap, this is going to hurt. And the lights went out. So then the lights came back up. And Tia, it was segments. It was segments of weird situations. The first one where I saw a demon, because there was really no other explanation for what this was other than a Bigfoot that was angry. It was just a big thing. And I just froze when the lights came up because I'm 2 feet away from this thing. And I kind of looked up, and I thought, oh no, now what? And he spoke and he had a club and he spoke and I thought he was gonna grunt or something, but in perfect English, he says, do you want to get out of here? And that startled me. And I said, yeah. And he says, well, I've got a job for you. You do one thing for me. I'll see you get out. It was just getting weirder and weirder. It never dawned on me that I was dead or in another realm because your soul is always you, your body, your mind, your brain is not you, your spirit is you. So when you're out of your body, it's like getting out of your car, you know. So I was trying to assimilate all of this, and I said, yeah, sure. Yeah, if you can get me out. I don't know how I got here, and I don't know how to get out. So he says, fine. So he just kind of waved his arm, and behind him lit up this huge blackberry field, just as far as I could see. And all the big canes are all interacting, you know, they're tumbled. And I looked at that and I thought, oh no, because like in Washington, these darn blackberries grow everywhere and they're impossible to get rid of. They've got horrible thorns on them. And if you cut them, you got to have these thick gloves and big hanging clippers and stuff. So I looked at that and he looked at me and he says, all you got to do is just cut all that down and then I'll get you out of here. And I thought, what? And so he hands me these little paper cutting scissors that you give children. And he laughed, you know, and I thought, he's just toying with me. This is a joke, but it's not funny. And he just looked at me and I looked at him and I thought, expletive, I'll cut the damn thing down if that's how I'm going to get out of here. So I scritched down in there, getting all scratched up, and I gnawed on this one cane, you know, they're 50-cent size. And I finally got it broken and I went to put it behind me. And when I turned back around, it was growing back, all the way back. So this character over here is belly laughing, and I didn't think it was the least bit funny, and I was mad. So I thought, okay, smart aleck, I'm just going to keep at this because there's obviously no other option. So as I went to cut it again, the lights all went out and I froze. The lights came up and I was someplace else, other adventures. It's interesting because when I got back and over this last 25 years, I've been trying to find other people that have had the distressing NDEs. They're not rare. They're about something between 8 and 10% of people have a distressing experience. And we don't like to talk about it. You know, it's very shaming to say, oh, I was in hell. And then the first thing my mother said is, Kathy, what did you do to go to hell? We thought you were such a nice person. You know, you kind of clam up about that stuff. So one of my purposes now is to peel these people off the wall and bring them into our monthly sharing groups through IANDS, and where a lot of them are telling their stories for the first time they feel safe and enough to tell their stories. So as I went along, and the point of that was a lot of them, almost all of them, relate segments. And I'll tell you the reason why later. So anyway, in between these segments, and it just went on and on. There was this road. It was like a dirt road, and as far as you could see, I mean, it's twilight there. There's no moon or stars or anything. And just this glowing red at the horizon, like maybe the sun's coming up or there's a volcano or whatever. You don't have any idea. But I would walk and walk and walk, and then another segment would happen or something would happen on the road. When I got back and had come out of that coma and I'm laying in bed and I can't move, there's nothing to do but think. And so I recalled all the things that happened and just trying to make sense of it. But there was no sense to be made. But another odd thing that happened in my experience is that I saw living people that I knew, two relatives, and on the road, and had interactions with them that were unpleasant. There's a very few of us who have had that experience. There's a lady I know that's writing a book, so she interviewed me about that. And when I got back, I knew I had to give them a message. I had to explain what I saw them doing in this hellish place as a warning. And I told the first person that I walk up to her and say, hey, I saw you in hell. That's not a real, that's a buzzkill right there. And I told her what I saw, and I recommended that a certain part of her personality, the way she treated people really needed to change. And she pretty much blew me off and then hasn't spoken to me since. So that didn't go well. The other one was well received. She thought about it a lot. And then about a year later, she came to me at one of our Christmas parties and she gave me a glass of wine and says, okay, sit down. I want to talk to you about that thing you told me about. She says, that was true. And she says, because you told me that, when I had to make a decision around that, I had the strength to do it. And she said, I am so happy and so grateful that you shared that with me. So that, 50-50 is not bad. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, there was a scene that had to do with me having to work in an abortion clinic, which I was a member of Birthright and did not believe in that sort of thing. We helped ladies that wanted to keep their babies, but financially they couldn't wrangle it or whatever. So that was something to me that was hellish, and after I had done what he told me, again with a stick, another demon, he didn't tell me what I was going to do. He told me to go in this room and they'll tell me what to do, and it was awful. And so I came back and I said, I'm not doing that. And he says, what? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm just not going to do that. So he said, well, it just gets worse from here. And he reached up to hit me with that stick. And then I just closed my eyes and boom, I'm in another place. Another bad thing on the road, I think probably one of the worst, was a zombie thing. I mean, uh, me and my sister used to watch all kinds of horror. I really think a lot of this was influenced by it, but this particular part was really bad, and it was an abuse situation that was just as bad as you can think it could be. And again, I was telling you earlier, I really don't like to tell this whole story anymore. I'm 78 years old now, and it's just takes its toll. So it's all written out in the book. If anybody wants a blow by blow, it's all there. The main thing is that was pretty much led to another situation where this demon lady is taking us poor beat up women out into the snow and walking miles and miles and miles and miles and miles until we got to this horrible cabin, and we're told we were waiting for customers. And I asked her, I've been here a long time. Why is today this situation the worst I've been in? And she said, well, it's Christmas on earth, and that's always the worst day in hell. And that's when it hit me. And I thought, oh my gosh, what? I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, how did this happen? I mean, I was a good Catholic girl. I did everything that I was supposed to. Plus, man, I was always working on this, purgatory thing that we're taught from children's on up that we're going to land in once we die. Even though Jesus saved us, we still got to pay some extra, and that's done in purgatory, which is like hell, but you get out. So anyway, I was a little upset with that whole situation and mad. That's the way I bucked everything in hell is why it's misfit in hell. So I was mad and this. I looked at the other ladies and I started singing a Christmas carol. I knew that would make her really mad, and it was away in a manger, no crib for his bed. And she was mad, came at me with the club and said, shut up. And I kept singing. And so the other ladies are singing too. And we got to the little Lord, and she shrieked and jumped at me. And I just closed my eyes. I figured I was going to go someplace else. Boom. It was like being completely filled like a balloon full of love and joy and bliss and just tumbling in this light. And it's really ineffable. I mean, people that come back, you can't, there's no words. There's no words to how wonderful that is. And everything else just gone. Just you're just loving it. And it's kind of settled down a little bit. It wasn't just light anymore, and I could kind of see outlines of things. And I looked up and I kind of out of the corner of my eye, I saw this big table and a huge book on it, and it was open about halfway. And I remembered they were showing me something in that book, but I don't remember what it was. It took me a while to figure out when I got back what it was. But as I looked back, there's my friend who had died the month before when was taking care of it, died of leukemia. Yeah, last time I saw him in the hospital, no hair, purple swollen face, a mess. And now he looks great. Instead of 53, he looks about 35. He's wearing a sweater I got him for Christmas. He's hopping from one foot to the other. He's just dying to say something, and he's looking at my face going, oh. And I thought, oh, he doesn't know he's dead, you know? And he burst out laughing. And I thought, and I didn't say that out loud. Ding, the light goes on. I'm dead. Terrific. Oh my God, that's the best news. Why are we standing here? Come on, show me around. And he got a little bit closer and he says, oh, Mary Kay, you got too much left to do. Huh? You know, they were throwing me out. And I just said, no, absolutely no. I crossed my arms, stamped my foot, lights went out. Lights came back up. I was given, I think, a timeout. I was mad. I was really angry. And I was given a timeout. I think I came, took a little side stream and met some beautiful little ladies that gave me some message to tell somebody. And I awoke in the hospital to way too much light. I thought I was back in hell. There's people milling around. I can't move. I can't talk. I'm totally freaked out. And then my daughter turns around and says, Mom's back. What? I get this thing in my throat, right? And they're all yippee skippy, hooray, gathering around the bed. I have no idea how I got there. And my daughter sits down and says, oh, Mom, you're so confused. Just everybody be quiet, I can't talk. So she says, look, you've got a trach in your throat. You've been really sick. We thought we were going to lose you. They said, she's going, say your goodbyes, but you're back. And my mother said, we had this prayer circle going around the world and we brought you back. And I thought, you horrible woman, why don't you ever do that again? I'm thinking. And so they're all happy. I'm not happy. I don't know what's going to happen to me next. The doctors, I heard him in the other room. They were out in the hall. We don't know how brain damaged she is, she'll maybe drive a car. She'll never work again. I'm 53. Had my own business. I just retired. Um, and I'm thinking, what? So I was in the ICU 3 weeks. And then another week before they could find a place to put me in. I went to a physical rehab place for another month to learn. I was down to 86 pounds, lost all my muscle mass, all of my muscle memory. So I was like an infant. I didn't know how to do anything, even swallow. So I had to learn all that again in a month, how to walk, crawl, talk, feed myself, all that stuff. So in the meantime, I'm not a happy camper. And I have no idea what happened to me. And I got home and other things happened. The person who got me to the hospital in time, we'd been dating for 6 months. He asked me to marry him. And it was that or go live with my parents. I said, sure. He was a nice guy. And he was very sweet. And I was able to finally have my life back after about a year of hard work. But then I still didn't know what had happened. And so loving to write, I just started writing it all out because I was haunted by it terribly. You can imagine. I was scared to do anything that I would die again and demons would get me. And I mean, my God, I was a mess. So I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote, and it didn't go away. It never went away. It still hasn't gone away. That's because it's in your soul. It's not in your brain. It's not in your mind. It's stamped right in there. And finally, after 10 years, Tia, I was given these synchronistic hints of going to IANDS. And of course, I'd never heard of it. Um, so I had to look it up. I got enough guts to go. What happens is you get the voice when you get back. It's like your conscience, your guardian angel, whatever, but it's loud. It's a lot louder. It's not this little whispery thing. Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. It's loud. And it's the one that told me that I had to go to Seattle. I drove up there under duress and I didn't want to go. I thought, who are these crazy people? So I got there and I went to a couple of meetings and they're all the happy ones, they saw God, they had lunch with Jesus, they had a great time. They were so sorry to be sent back. That's always the same story. I can't wait to get back. It's home. You want to go home. So you got to you run around and try and get everything done that you're supposed to do so you can go. So I felt fish out of water, man. I thought this is not my people. And I was sneaking out of one of the meetings and one of the main guys says, "What's up?" He stood in front of me like one of those demon guys. And I said, "I don't belong here." He says, "Why?" And I says, "Because I had a terrible time. I was in hell for crap's sake." And he says, "Oh, great." And I said, "Huh?" And he said, "Oh, those are rare. That you got to tell us all about it." And I said, "Not in your life, pal." And he says, "No, no, you're going to do that because you need to do that. You need to get that out and blah, blah, blah." And they bugged me for months. But finally, um, through another synchronicity, I met another gal who didn't want to tell her story either, and we agreed. She would sit we flipped a coin. I lost. I had to tell my stories first. So she sat right in the front, and I was going to tell my story to her, and then ignore all this other 100 people that had showed up when they heard when they were going to have. Oh, we got a hellish one. It's going to be so much fun. And so I sat up on that stage looking at that crowd of people, and I thought, how embarrassing. I still don't know why I went, and I wasn't that bad. So I told them everything. And man, they were on the edge of their seats. You could have heard a pin drop in that place. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm not scaring anybody away. And and most of these people have been on the other side, so they believe me. And so I dumped it all out, man. I didn't hold anything back. And when we got to the end where we got out with the Christmas Carol, sigh of relief, like because they had been with me on this journey. And I mean, there was clapping. They were, oh, thank God we got out of that one. And I thought, this was something good that I just did. There must be a reason for this. That really encouraged me, that and them coming up afterwards and saying, "Oh, can we send people to you? We only get people rarely, but we know somebody we can send them to." So I'm starting to collect these people, and which was great. And then I went to a conference, and there was nothing for the distressing people, and I barked about that. So after 3 years now, last year we had our first meeting at the conference. There was like 100 places, and we were in like not quite a closet, but it was the smallest room, at the end. But like a whole bunch of people showed up. So this year we've got a panel, we've got a big room, we're legitimate on it's not just all the happy yippee skippy kind of experiences. It's really taken 25 years, but we're we're welcoming people in now. And the thing is, we understand, and what my message really is, after all these years and talking to so many people and reading the books of the people, and Nancy Evans Bush saved my life. Her and Howard Storm, they were the brave ones. They wrote the first books about this. But it turns out that I manifested that. I so firmly believed that when I died, I would go to purgatory. I did. because I made one. God is all loving, God is all forgiving, and God would never condemn anybody. But we've got free will, so if you want to go to hell, you can make one. This is what we've all decided. I took all the horrible things that ever happened in my life, Tia, and the first one was I was an earthquake in Santa Cruz in 1989, and the town fell down. I mean, I was there, and that was the first scene, was the earthquake. The other scenes, I can trace them all back. It's taken me a long time, but I've traced them all back to, yeah, I made that hell. And the purpose was to come back and tell people, skip the trip. Don't make your own hell. God is all loving and all forgiving. And that's my message.
Oh my gosh, that is like maybe the most comforting message that you could ever share, is that we create the hell. If we are in hell, it's because we created it. And it's not a place that we would go to for all eternity then?
No, you won't go at all. I came back, right? The ones that come back, we're not going to go to hell. We just bring the message. Had I stayed, I wouldn't have had that experience. It's just that I believed I would. So I was sent back to tell people, don't think that way. In other words, what happens to us when we come back is I was a Catholic from day one, and I had to really look at my religion and what it taught, and I had to give it up because it's not true. It's not true for me. It's not true. So what is something that usually happens with people that come back is they become spiritual, not religious, no matter where they've gone. I mean, these events happen all over the world. We don't sit down and talk and get around. So, okay, let's collaborate this and make up this huge, story. No, we all have this individual experience that's the same all over the world, no matter what your religion, no religion. The atheists, I love telling the story to an atheist that says, there's nothing on the other side. I said, you've got such a great surprise coming. I don't care if you believe there's nothing, because that's not true. It's funny to see the looks on their faces. Yeah, that's why we come back. We're sent back, or we choose to come back. I think that now, after talking to and hearing so many of these experiences, I do believe we plan our lives. I do believe we reincarnate innumerable times. I've been told that Earth is the toughest gig, that only the brave souls come here. This is a dark place, man, and it's hard. And we really do our work here for one another. But souls come down to learn, to have experiences. Some people say, well, we all are just souls, are part of God. I mean, everything is one. It's all just this energetic God that's experiencing, somebody said, experiencing himself, not him, but itself through us. And it's pretty complicated. With these little tiny brains of ours, we can only absorb a small amount of this quote reality we're in, which is really kind of a play. It's one we wrote the script for, and we come down and act it out and have the experience of it. The main things we need to learn, I was taught later when I got back. I was having these horrible, I couldn't get rid of this. And I said, God, for heaven's sakes, tell me what to do. I mean, the thou shalt nots didn't do it. What can I do that's positive? And over a series of months, I got the voice pounding into me, loving and kind. Loving and kind. You want a message, you be loving and kind. Thought, okay, I can do that. I can do that. It was funny because I would see loving or kind on all these, billboards or wherever I went. And I thought, okay, love, that's easy, loving and kind. And then more started coming in. Merciful and forgiving. Okay, merciful and forgiving. Okay. There came another one. Encouraging, grateful. Okay. My mind is starting to go, but that's easy. Loving, loving, kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. Oh, non-judgmental. Ding, that's my hard one. I said, oh, okay. Useful, purpose, useful. So for 25 years, I've been working on those, and I got down to useful. And then I saw this quote in a book, and it says, usefulness is the greatest joy of life. That's true. When I got back, I worked for hospice for a couple of years. Most people do. A lot of people go to hospice. And that was because I was jealous. Of all these people that are going home, they were so lucky, and they just didn't know it. So that was my purpose for a while, as I would go and I could sit with them and say, God, you're so lucky. I changed places with you in a heartbeat. This one poor little guy was pretty anxious, and nobody was there to be with him. And he couldn't talk, and his big eyes, he's just freaking out. And that's when I was told him, I said, I'd change with you in a minute. And I was telling him all about this stuff, and the look on his face, he just relaxed. It kind of got all kind of, and I'd heard him croaking. I couldn't help but hear him croaking. And I remembered that when I was in the hospital, that meant I was thirsty and his water glass was empty. So I had to run down to the nurses, and I held him in my lap and got him some water. But anyway, so now he could croak a little bit. And I says, what are you doing? And he's, I'm getting ready. And I said, oh, okay. He said, shh. I said, all right. All right. So he was so excited. He was just waiting to go, man. And other people started coming out of the woodwork. I had an airplane ministry for a while. I'd go down and see my mom. I was going every month then. And I would sit next to somebody on the airplane, and I was at 50-50. Somebody would turn to me and say, oh, I just came from my mother's funeral. I'm never going to see her again. I go, bing, and put down my book. And I talked to them the whole 2 hours down, and they would be so happy. I had two individual ladies drag me down to baggage claim to meet their husbands. If I hadn't met this lady today, I don't know what I would have done. And that's the clue I get, that I've all this work I have left to do. I see it as a big blackboard with all these little people on it, and I have to cross them all off before I get to go home. So it's been a joyful thing to finally find a purpose, and they keep showing up. Right now, I'm down at the local senior center, stirring up happiness down there, because that's what I was told to do. Go to the senior center, and the voice pointed out a couple of people in particular, and now I'm best friends with both of them. And yeah, that's why we're here. We all have a purpose. I think if that's something people really need to think about, particularly when they get my age, and they're retired or something, and they're watching too much TV, and they're sick of going in the garden. You need to get out with other people and bring them love and kindness. If you can't remember that whole schmear, it's just love and kindness.
You are the epitome of living in service by providing a safe place for people to share their distressing experiences, for one, because I can't even imagine how difficult that would be to have a distressing experience and then go about normal life again, thinking that that's going to be where you end up. So for you to be able to provide a space and an explanation for people, and not even people that have had these experiences, but everyone who's watching this, everyone who's reading your book, who's seen you on other podcasts or whatever, wherever you've shared your story. Hell does not truly exist, is just a creation of our mind. Wow, that is so comforting.
The other thing there, and there's, there's energy, and if there's positive energy, there's negative energy. And so most of us agree that because we have free will, there's probably a place where the negative energy hangs out, but that has nothing to do with God's judgment. That's because they have free will, and if they want to go down there and feel depressed and miserable, have at it, but I'm also told there's always angels waiting around, seeing if somebody's changing their mind, they'll snatch them and take them out of there. It's because we were given free will, and that's a gift and a curse, actually. But yeah, that's it's okay. You don't go there accidentally or if you don't want to.
Is there
That's
someplace on Earth as well that sometimes I've heard people describe Earth as a living hell?
mm,
Is that something we can escape from here as well by maybe focusing on the
I think
positives?
I think people who are in a bad way, depressed or whatever, can see that. Um, it's definitely difficult. I mean, people that say, "Oh, if we only did this, and ended all the wars and everybody got food," it's not going to happen because this is a school down here, and we chose to come here and do our best. And when we leave, we don't have to come back here. I mean, people do. I don't want to. Dib's not. I mean, me and a group of people, we're going somewhere else next time. Um, that's what's fun too, knowing you've got a soul family and you've done this before, probably thousands of times, and you always end up seeing each other. It's just different. You just choose to do different things, Like I believe that anytime I'm on a podcast, like with you, it's I knew you before, and this time we said, well, I'm going to be really busy this time, but let's get together for an hour. Okay. We'll just check in and say hi, and that'll be fun. And then when we get home, we say, well, you know what? That was cool. You want to do something more next time? When you look at as planning your own life, there's a certain great freedom, knowing that I think I'm not a victim anymore. When things used to happen to me, I shake my fist at God and say, "Why do you keep doing this to me? I'm a nice person. My God, why? Why me?" That's what we always say. Why me? Well, I planned it. So when I get things that happen now that I'm uncomfortable with or I'm angry about, I go, wait, 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 wait. You planned this. So there's a message here. Don't miss the message. Um, and so you look at it again from another angle and say, oh, okay, this is a chance for me to be patient. This is a chance for me to be kind. And I can work on my forgiving, by having this happen. It changes everything. And so knowing too that you get the life review, there's no judgment over there. Not one person I've ever run into said that God judged me. Anybody judge me. You get a life review, which is really kind of fun. You get to see your whole life from the time you're conceived to the time you die, like a movie, like Netflix. So cool. You sit there and you watch this whole thing, and it's interesting. Wow, I forgot about that. And oh, that was, yeah. Then they turn it around, and you get to experience what it was like to interact with yourself. So instead of being your sister that just shoved her doll down the stairs or something, and or you did something good, you get to feel that rush of joy or gratitude or whatever that person felt because you were kind to them. Or you yelled at somebody and now you feel that hurt that they did, but it's a karma. It's you put that out and you get to feel how it was. But I'm told too, you got a couple of angels hanging out, to encourage you and say, you could have done a little better there, or that was really nice. Um, that's as bad as it gets.
So we don't have to come back and make amends for the mistakes that we've made in this life.
Well, you may choose to do that. You may choose to say, I was so blasted selfish. I really want to go back and work on that. I know now, subconsciously you'll get back and you probably have more of affinity or a sympathy in that area and work that out of your soul. You just you want to do better, you know, but it's not anybody making you do it. um I don't know, like I say, our brains really can't wrap around that kind of stuff. You watch the Matrix or one of these things and kind of laugh now because um most of us believe that this is just a play. We wrote the words and everything, and we agreed to it. We're just that I think the most fun thing that I found out on that is, you look at someone whose skin color is different or their culture is different or whatever. And then if you think about pulling that soul out of there. We're all the same color. We're all the same background. We got costumes on, I just happen to have a white old lady costume on. But when I will look at somebody else, I can see their soul and we look exactly the same. We are the same. That is a big, big, big change too, I think, if more people realize that.
I think so also. So many people discuss how they felt unity or oneness in their near death experience, and that's exactly the opposite of how we live our lives here on earth. We are divided by our political beliefs, our religious beliefs, our culture, our race, our color, so many different divisions, and we really truly are just one, and that's a beautiful
Yeah.
realization. So, are you able to kind of go back to this place that you were in the heavenly realm, not the negative, hellish area, but this heavenly realm where you saw your friend? Do you still have access to that feeling?
Um, yeah. I've, and it is so intense because I'm back in this human body. To just even get a taste of that feels like my heart's going to explode. So I can only hold it for a second or so. And then like now, I start to cry. It's so wonderful. You can't, you can't, you can't. No, this body can't hold that much joy.
That's so beautiful and something to look forward to.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think, and this life, I just want to point out, this life is such a gift also.
Mhm.
And I think people always think, oh, when I die, the grass is going to be greener and everything's going to be perfect. But I think this life is a huge gift and we can make this life very beautiful. Um, and we take that with us, the beautiful life that we lived.
Right. Yeah. And we leave the love that we shared too.
The love, yes, the love. I think that's the only thing that we can take with us is our experiences and our love.
Mhm.
We're not going to take the cars or the houses or the huge bank accounts or our books or anything. So,
No,
yeah.
that's stays here.
And so, if my viewers wanted to reach out to you, I know you have so many resources out there available. How can they find you?
And I've got a website at www and then the name of the book, MISFIT in Hell to Have an Expat.com. And there's a place there if you want to get in touch with me or leave a message or something, and I'll, email you back. Okay.
And if you had one message that you wanted to make sure the viewers took away from our conversation here today, what would it be?
It would be to be loving, kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. It's all you got to know.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for
You're
being my
welcome.
guest. This has been really enlightening for me because I've never heard that perspective before. I've heard that we create our own hell, but not someone who came back and said that's the reason you went there was to share with the world that there is no hell. So thank you for sharing with me and with my audience. This has been very meaningful for me.
Thanks, Tia.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.